and information without the hate, hype, and fear. We're proud to feature cutting-edge programs like The Christopher Everard Show, The Covert Report with Susan Lindauer, Enemy Within Radio with Tom Barnes, Freaky Friday with The Woo Crew, The Gematria Effect with Zachary Hubbard, America's Evil Genius with Travis Cook, Phoenix Rising Radio with Phoenix, Quantum Connections with Lucky, and dozens more. Did you know you can listen from any telephone by dialing 641-793-7117 or call into your favorite show toll free at 833-TFR-LIVE. Uncensored talk and news you won't hear in the mainstream media. Truth Frequency Radio, your protection from deception.
Lawmakers censure. The closure continues. I'm Ann Cates. House Republican leaders have removed Iowa Congressman Steve King from all of the assigned amendments tonight. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell condemned King over his comments on white supremacy and white nationalism. Senator Mitt Romney says King's views are unwelcome and unworthy of his elected position. A resolution disapproving of his statements has been introduced in the House. The federal government shutdown continues.
I will never, ever back down.
President Trump talking about the border wall fight with Democrats and the government shutdown. Farmers gathered in New Orleans love that he signed the $870 billion farm bill. In it, though, are billions in aid to farmers hurt by trade wars. With the Department of Agriculture shut down, those payments could be significantly delayed. Returning to the border wall dispute, the president saying regarding restrictions he wants to immigration in general.
You need people to help you with the farms. And you've had some people for 20, 25 years. They're incredible. Then they go home and they can't get back in. That's not going to happen. But we're keeping the wrong ones out. We don't want the wrong ones coming into our country.
Bob Costantini, Washington.
A decision against a Trump administration rule that allowed employers to opt out of providing women with no-cost birth control.
U.S. District Judge Wendy Beetlestone in Philadelphia issued the injunction, saying states should be protected from the rule and the potential harm it could impose, including people losing contraceptive coverage. However, in a statement, Health and Human Services spokeswoman Caitlin Oakley said the ruling violates the rights of employers who don't morally agree with contraceptives and who want to opt out of providing no-cost coverage of birth control. She said it also forces them to, quote, violate their consciences. The statement did not indicate whether the Trump administration would appeal. John Stolness, Washington.
Wall Street retreated today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 86 points. The S&P 500 down 14. The NASDAQ off 66. I'm Ann Cates.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network. We are TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
Astronauts to the moon.
Ten, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Not to get off track here, but I feel like we're in the Truman Show and we're in a snow globe and we just shook it up.
Welcome to reality.
'When I remember when I thought we went to the moon, and I trusted everything that NASA'd say. maybe they misplaced the tapes, and we'd be back one day. And when you're out there, yeah, I got ostracized for questioning something that gives people pride. Or did I know too much? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly. When I'm out here telling you to prove that the earth is round, you scream so loud it don't make a sound. I'm doing a mind exercise, and it's no surprise that you think I'm crazy, that you think I'm crazy, that you think I'm crazy, but you don't see. I think it's insane. I think it's insane to eat what they throw in your trough. Your soul is telling you something is off. Maybe that's the cause of your depression, to be a slave to what you've been told. Or maybe you're crazy. Or maybe you're crazy. Or maybe you're crazy to keep your blindfold on. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. But probably not. Good evening, Bears. Welcome to another.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to your protection from deception. That's right here at truthfrequencyradio.com, simulcasting live on the very popular Jeranism YouTube channel. And wherever you might be, if you're hearing my voice right now, you are correctly dialed into the #1 show on Truth Frequency Radio on Monday nights. Between the hours of 6 and 8 p.m. Pacific, that's 9 to 11 Eastern. That show is Jeranism Monday Night Raw, and it started about 6 minutes ago. I'm your host, Jeran from Jeranism, and co-hosting this #1 show is the most hated man in Flat Earth, which is fantastic to get a little heat off of me. He operates out of the CIA facility somewhere in New Jersey. He's the host of the award-winning Flat Earth podcast, the creator of the Dearth YouTube channel, and the brain behind the very popular and very hated Flat Earth Sun and Moon Clock app, available for the iPhone right now, Google Android, and even your Apple TV. He is David Maldonado Weiss. David, Even I think I'm hearing your voice too often at this point, but here we go again for another 2 hours of fun, excitement, and Flat Earth. How are you, my friend?
You are hearing it too often, and just you hear it more than I hear myself, or almost more. So
it's miserable
because I don't listen to myself most of the time. I mean, I've learned don't listen to whatever I say. I tell people that all the time.
Right. So even if you believe what you say, there's a problem.
The page calls me second answer Dave. She goes, she knows that whenever a question is asked, the first answer out of my mouth is for my own entertainment. The second answer is the one that you're looking for.
I've kind of learned that. That poses a little problem for tonight's show, but all right. First off, a shout out to everyone in the chat or wherever you might be. Welcome to tonight's show. Also, a shout out to Leanne in Tennessee. Thank you for the letter I got today. I will be responding in letter form myself, so thank you for that. And we started off with a Owen Benjamin jam, originally performed by Gnarls Barkley, but adapted to a more meaningful position by Owen Benjamin. And I've seen a lot of people, David, who are like, who the hell is Owen Benjamin and why should we even care? So let's ask David that one. David, who is Owen Benjamin and why do you care at all?
You know, that song that you just played, since I made the video and since I heard it, I've probably heard it 30 times. And it gets better every time I hear it. It's because who is Owen Benjamin? He's a comedian, successful comedian. He's gone through the ranks. He's broken free of the corporate chains. But he's funny, he's honest, and we're witnessing him go through in real time what we all went through.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so fascinating to see. He's brutally honest.
Right. He has nearly 250,000 subs.
That's big.
He's getting 4,000 to 5,000 live listeners, and all his audience is not flat earthers.
Most of them aren't.
Most of them, yeah. He's a comedian who can sell out arenas. He's very, very funny, and he takes no shit from anyone, which, by the way, is a prerequisite to being a flat earther. That's step one. Step one is you have to erase the fact that you're going to get shouted at from every angle, called an idiot, called stupid, called crazy. And if you can take that, that's step one. So I believe we're watching the evolution right in front of our faces. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, he doesn't care what other people think about him. So that's check mark right there. He knows NASA is complete hogwash. So that's usually the first step you take on becoming a flat earther.
Yeah, and the great thing is about, I don't know if people realize this, but he gets 4,000 to 5,000 live viewers while he's doing his live shows. I'm lucky to break 1,000. But when you're up in that 4,000 to 5,000 range, people need to realize it, or recognize at least, that is like a huge auditorium. If you've ever been to a comedy show, anything like that, that's about what those places hold. So I mean, he's getting a huge audience and every night. So I love it. Keep talking more. Keep trying to iron out the problems in your head with living on a ball, and do it live. Let's watch as it unfolds.
Yeah, but at the end of that video, you cut it off where I just put a couple of his honest, emotional reactions where he swears the F word, and he's like, "Oh God, please don't make me become a flat earther," because he's tired of the scorn, but he doesn't care. He really doesn't care. No. I don't know. It's like we all didn't want it to be real. It's not like, hey, we wanted to be flat earthers. We wanted everybody to laugh at us and give us crap.
No.
We just want the truth, and that's what he wants. So that's another for Owen. Wait a minute. Was that a photon or was that a check mark? I'm not sure.
I think that was actually the tone for a craft landing on Mars. Actually. You got it wrong this time.
Wow.
The tones can say a lot,
Yeah.
I like Owen. You can't be someone who falls for societal pressure, or you have no chance. And he's somebody who, to start off, does not fall for that. And like we said, he's got a big audience. And if you know anybody else that's got 250,000 subscribers and is talking to 4,000 or 5,000 people every night live, and they are talking about flat Earth, please let us know. We will add them to our list to watch.
20,000, 10,000.
Exactly.
Right.
So let's dive in, and perhaps we can use this show to help Owen or help anyone who might have questions about flat Earth, because on tonight's show, we'll have two segments. We'll, of course, take calls. And if you want to call in now, there was so many calls last week, we didn't get to them all. And I'm assuming that's going to happen again, as the second half of the show will be for calls. But if you get in now, you can guarantee that you will get on the air. 213-233-3998. But that's going to be the second half of the show when we move over to TFR. So get in line. But first, this morning, David sent me a huge list. It's a list of 26 questions, I guess. And David, can you describe where these 26 questions came from?
So I normally just delete, not normally, I always just delete and ban people for saying stupid things. But this is a guy that relentlessly goes on my channel. He replies to every comment sometimes. Every new video, he's one of the first people to post. He goes, "Flattards can't answer, will never address these 26 questions, which prove blah, 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 blah." And he says, no flat earther will ever answer any of these questions. And I don't even read the questions because they're just nonsense. Finally, after reporting him as spam like 400 times one day, I read the questions and I was like, I think we should address these. So here we are. And right. We haven't studied them. I haven't even read them all. I scanned them really quick. Have you read them, Jeran?
No. So I guess the plan tonight is to rattle through these. I did glance over them, to be honest, and none of my answers will be planned or scripted. And also, we don't claim to have all the answers, number one. But we always do the best we can to try and answer these to the best of our ability. Also, it's quite possible that David and I might have different answers.
Or no answer.
Or no answer. The moral of the story is that you have to do research sometimes. I didn't just get to make a list of 26 things or 26 questions that I had about flat Earth and then have somebody answer them to me, and then I jumped in. No, I had to do research on all of it. And if we can't answer any of these questions, it simply means I need to do more research into that particular aspect. It doesn't make them unanswerable. How can I use it as an example? Like if I ask David who lives next door to him and he doesn't know, it doesn't make it false that someone lives next door. And David not having that answer might mean that I need to go myself and investigate. And if someone else claims, well, Jeran, Maria lives there, and David not knowing the answer does not mean that Maria must live there. Nope. It'll take some work. It'll take some research on my part to confirm whether or not Maria, in fact, lives next door to David. Also, it doesn't matter if 10 or 20 people tell me Maria lives next door. Doesn't make it true. And if it's in the textbooks that Maria lives next door to him, so now everyone who went to school, all the college graduates, they all believe Maria lives next door. It still doesn't make it true, but will in fact be harder to prove it all to all those people who were taught otherwise, that perhaps what they learned in school isn't correct, even though they have degrees, even though they've got doctorates and PhDs. So
are you saying the elite don't want you to know where Maria lives?
Hey, the elite, I guess my knowing everything about this earth is not beneficial to those in the highest places in power, and that shocks many people. But believe me, they don't sit around a big table and decide, how can we make the public smarter? How can we make children smarter so that they grow up and take over my power and fame and all my money? It's not the way it works. So, yep. And when you realize that with space travel and planets and galaxies and nebula, nobody knows. It's just written in textbooks. So you can't tell how far something is by just observing it. Imagine something off in the distance and you're observing through the atmosphere, and you can make assumptions, you can make guesses, but you don't know. And when you're talking about these lights in the sky that are, according to the scientific model, according to the heliocentric model, some 26 trillion miles away at a minimum, you're definitely dealing with a different beast. It's you're just not proof. It's just their opinion. So anyway, we've got thank you very much, Curious Jay, with a text out of nowhere. Curious Jay, we miss you. Come back, please. But he said he's going to have to use that one in the future. The next door Dave. It's Maria, by the way, at least in my opinion.
Well, no, next door to Dave is Maria.
Yes.
That's what he was saying.
Yes, I know.
Either way, hey, Jay, did you check out today's featured video on the Flat Earth podcast?
Oh, yeah.
Not the Flat Earth podcast, on the Flat Earth clock. I'm getting all my stuff mixed up.
Yeah, Curious Jay, I had to watch a video of yours today because my rule is when I open up the app every day, whatever video David has decided to put there, I'm going to watch. And today it was a Curious Jay video, and then I get a Curious Jay text. Wow, very curious.
It was a Monday, and I figured everybody likes is today Monday? Yeah, today is Monday Night Raw.
There you go.
It was an uplifting video to start your week. Just so people know, I beginning of the week, very short videos. Maybe on Wednesday or Thursday, I'll put a longer video because I know people are busy with our slave jobs and lives. And then on the weekends, depending on the weather, I'll put a feature video. So hey, most of America is in the crap, but I'll put a long video on, or I'll just put a long video on because the app is worldwide and who knows what the weather is. So there you go.
Yeah, Curious Jay is asking what video was. So obviously he's not opening his app every day and therefore should be punished.
Yeah. No, that's not what he's saying. Oh, he didn't know, but he was wondering where all the new subs came from. So that's good.
That's from Dave. So, all right, let's start with the questions. And here we go. Let's try and get through, I don't know if we can get through 10. That'd be great before the first break. I don't know. Number 1, on a globe, the circumference of the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn are equal, but on a flat Earth, the Tropic of Capricorn would be 70% longer. What makes the sun slow down from December to June and speed up from June to December year after year? In other words, why are days longer in the summer and shorter in the winter? That's question 1. So first of all, I don't think that we disagree at all that the Tropic of Capricorn would be much further of a distance than Cancer. I don't know about somebody saying it's 70% longer. Again, you're getting trapped into all the miles and distances that you've been given, and you're calling them fact and moving from there. I don't think that's a smart move. It definitely would be longer. And when we look, we see southern flights don't register on the radar. If you talk about tracking, a lot of these southern flights are falling off. Some of those are because the distance is too far, in my opinion. The Southern Ocean, in my opinion, is much more stretched than we might think. Expansive, yes.
Yeah.
But I think that that's an excellent point, that you're right, that nobody's saying that it's not true. I don't know anybody that says that the Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn are the same in a flat Earth model. Do you know, Dave, know anybody who says that?
No. The Tropic of Capricorn is bigger, and the sun and the moon, the sun when in December is, in my opinion, traveling faster. I think the problem this guy is having is he can't imagine, he's thinking of the sun as this giant physical, heavy-weighted, gravitational ball.
Correct.
And how you're going to change the speeds of something like that. In the flat Earth model, and Jeran and I, and many others are on the same page, that we believe that the sun that we see is not physical. It's energetic in nature. And it is being, for lack of a better word, projected or reflected into our sky. So what the source is that makes that oscillate in and out, I'll just say it could be, electromagnetic in nature. There's lots of different experiments you can do with magnets and electricity that will make things oscillate. Not sure what makes it go around, but it isn't gravity and falling around curves of different bodies.
And at least we're not making up some term like they have in the heliocentric model to explain things that they can't, like dark matter and dark energy. We're not telling you that it's
space-time.
Yes, dark space-time, right? The bending of space-time. We're not using those. But one of the questions that I thought was interesting there is what makes it move faster. And my question is, when you look at I don't know if you can look at a clock that's on your wall right now, and if it has a second hand, look at the inside of that second hand, and then look at the tip of that second hand, and tell me, is one moving faster than the other?
Sure. And imagine, so now looking at that second hand, you're above the clock with a spotlight or with a laser, and you put the laser on the inside, close to the center of the second hand, and you keep it on there, and it's barely moving. But then you just tilt that laser a little bit, and now it's moving much faster on that second hand, and the source of that is barely moving at all.
Yep. No, I totally agree. So that's our answer to number 1, like it or not. Let's move on to number 2. What keeps the sun and moon in a circular motion above a flat Earth? Dave?
My answer would just be that it is electric magnetic in nature. I mean, you could see that experiment with what's it called, where they float that frozen disc above the magnetic track.
Oh yeah, I forgot what they used to do that, but
what's it called? I'm spacing out. Quantum locking.
There you go.
And yeah, that's again, our whole world is electric and magnetic in nature. And things do spiral. So it's some sort. I think it has to do with the magnetic field, and the pulsing in and out of the magnetic field pushes the sun out and lets it fall back in, and it's almost like the breath of the Earth.
Yeah, and some people feel like that might even be moving out further. But let's go on to number 3, which I think is completely easy and isn't explained on the globe, but is explained in Flat Earth. It says, what causes the solar aneurysm? You know what that is, Dave?
Why don't you get into it? I actually have a problem with the solar aneurysm. The problem I have is I haven't really looked into it, so you probably know more about that one. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, and I'd probably have to show this to really show you, but the solar aneurysm is when you take an image of the sun every day, say at noon, for the course of an entire year, and it makes a kind of figure 8 into the sky. And that is well explained just by placing yourself on the flat Earth, because as the sun is going around its inner track, it's going to create a little tight loop, if you will. And then when it's going around its outer track, the much larger outer track, then it creates the fat tail. And that's exactly what the aneurysm looks like. If you look at it, it's a smaller loop and then a larger outer loop. And that's exactly what we just said happens. If you look at the flat Earth sun and moon clock, you'll see that the sun is on a smaller inner track and then it's on a larger outer track. And if you take a picture of the sun every day at noon, you'll get this figure 8 image, which will have a smaller loop at the top and a larger loop at the bottom.
Okay.
That was explained well.
Yep.
Number 4, if you can see both the sun and moon during a selenion, I can't say that word, selenion, whatever.
I can't say it now either.
All right, it's the S-word eclipse. If you can see both the sun and moon during an S-word eclipse, and they are at their maximum separation, why can't you see them all the time on flat Earth? What?
I don't understand the question.
Okay, let's try again. If you can see both the sun and moon during a selenion, I think I got it right that time, eclipse, which just so people will stop there, a selenion eclipse is when both the sun and the moon are above the Earth. If you're looking at the horizon, on both sides of you, both the sun and moon would be above the horizon, yet you can see a shadow start to appear on the moon. And he's asking, which that right there doesn't even fit in the globe model, so I'm unsure why that's thrown at us. And they are at their maximum separation. Then why can't you see them all the time on a flat Earth?
Are they at their maximum separation?
Well, I guess if you're talking about, at least in my opinion, when you're talking about the lunar eclipse, yes, the sun and moon would be at almost opposite. But I'm confused why he says, why can't you see them all the time on a flat Earth? Can't see them above the horizon? You can. Sometimes, most times. So I'm not sure what he means. Throughout the day, there's many times, or throughout the month, there's many times where the moon and sun are both seen in the sky at the same time. So he's saying if you can see both the sun and moon during this particular eclipse and they're at their maximum separation, why can't you see them all the time on a flat Earth? I'm confused what
what he doesn't realize is they're opposed to each other. When you can see them opposed to each other, the sun is going to continue moving away and it's going to go away. They're still opposed to each other, but we now can't see them just because they're farther away from our position. Not everybody sees a selenian eclipse at the same time. It's only certain places.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so
I guess that leads us into number 5, which is how can the Earth's shadow fall on the moon at all for a lunar eclipse when the sun and moon are both 3,000 miles above the flat Earth? Again, the first problem with that is you've made the assumption that the sun and moon are 3,000 miles above the flat Earth. I don't necessarily agree with that. Dave, you?
I completely 100% disagree with it. And, that came from, I believe that came from Dave Murphy's video where he was debunking Eratosthenes. And he said, it also works if the sun was 70 miles wide and 3,000 miles high. And that is absolutely true. But it also works at 700,000 other sizes and distances. So that was just one example that was given. And so all the ballers have stuck to it that is a given that it's 3,000 miles. You could also have it at, 1,500 miles and, 35 miles wide. Or I'm not sure of how it scales, but it works in all different things. And now that we realize, 4 years, 5 years, going on 5 years into this,
Stop right there. We'll be back from the break and we'll rattle through some more of these 26 questions. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Jeranism. Oh.
The
reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies in a capsule.
It's a great product. And the one thing I like about it the most is that when you open the bottles, you can smell like the scent of the fruits and veggies. It's no genius thing to it. It's really just fruits and veggies, which everyone needs. And you guys kind of put it in a way where you can take it easy and you can get it, and it's natural, and that's what I like about it. You know, I like the product, and I've taken it, and it's definitely made me feel a lot better. You know, I'm a healthy person to begin with, but it's definitely good prevention, and it's definitely gives me energy, and I feel like it's a natural thing. I like it. I really do.
For a limited time, use discount code TALK to receive a 50% discount on your first preferred whole health system and have it shipped to you free. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go online to balanceofnature.com. Again, use discount code TALK.
Once in a decade, a true story comes along that remembers the future. After 6 Amazon bestsellers, I have completed the epic Birth Trilogy, a true story of Earth. By reading the Birth Trilogy, you will journey with the characters from the origin of Earth to its final destiny in a white-knuckle ride that combines the intrigue of Tom Clancy with the epic scope of Prometheus and Interstellar. You will learn more about the purpose of life, the mystery of death, and the true nature of your soul than you thought possible. The Birth Trilogy is now available on Amazon and Kindle. The audio version is a free bonus when you buy the paperback, so even if you're not a great reader, don't worry about it. I read it for you. Use the Amazon app today and buy the Birth Trilogy, spelled B-E-A-R-T-H, or search for my name. I'm Brooks Agnew.
Real people, real radio.
Initiating the truth frequency. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Listening to Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Appreciate everyone joining us. Before the break, we were going through the list of 26 questions, and we're going to have a hard time getting through all of them if we continue at this pace, so we'll move a little bit faster. David, were you finishing something you were saying there?
Yeah, we were talking about the eclipse. I kind of forgot exactly where I am, but the other thing he was saying is that the Earth's shadow on the moon is what the eclipse is, and that doesn't look like it at all, because during a Saturnian eclipse, the Earth is not in between the moon and the sun, and half the time, or all of the time, at least the last time I saw it, the shadow came in from the top. Now I know there's possible explanations for that. It doesn't make sense. The last thing is Bill Nye has told us that only a sphere, or Neil deGrasse Tyson, can make a circle, but that's not true. Eero showed us that a straight edge ruler will, a book will make a curved shadow on a ball. A ball actually won't make the right size shadow because it gets all warped. It looks like a big oval. So,
which we never see. It's almost as if the shadow appears on a 2D image.
Yeah,
it doesn't wrap like a sphere would.
It's a lot more. It's more like the light is coming from. It's lighting itself up, and that would, from the inside, that would make that exact crescent, if I could speak.
No, you came close. That's right. Number 6. I believe we're on number 6. Yes. How come the sun and moon disappear from view for hours at a time if they are 3,000 miles above the flat Earth? Or how do the sun and moon disappear behind the horizon?
Delete and for life.
That's what we should do. This should be explained already, but I mean, again, David and I are both somebody who says that it's not 3,000 miles above a flat Earth. That's just, again, if you use different kind of positioning or different kind of triangulation, you might come to that number. But just like the ball Earth, the same is true on the flat Earth, that you can't. The sun is an apparent position. And so you can't just triangulate it and get its distance, which would give you about 3,000 miles if it was 32 miles wide. I think it's much lower, and anything going away from you will disappear. I mean, if you look down a long hallway at a hotel in Vegas or something, the light that's on the ceiling will eventually disappear. Now, if you made yourself really, really tiny and put yourself on the floor of that hallway and then layered the area above you with clouds off into the distance, then that light on the ceiling after a certain distance would disappear behind those clouds. As the clouds bunched up and went off into the distance, the sun, or the light in this particular case, would disappear behind that cloud deck.
The Earth is like a layer cake. We're on the bottom layer, then you have the cloud deck layer, and then you have the anything above that, the sun, the moon, the stars. And since we're in between the bottom layer and the middle layer, that's our hallway of vision, and anything above that, celestial objects, they move beyond it, and then it gets to a point where we cannot see up above through that middle layer. If that middle layer wasn't there, they would still go down, but they would shrink to a dot. And it's only when that middle layer is there, which is 99.99% of the time, that it gets eclipsed behind it as it moves into the distance.
Correct. And things disappearing from the bottom up is simply because the ground is in the way. And if you need to think of a way of looking at that, if you were on the ceiling and were looking off into the distance, well, then it would be the smoke detectors on that ceiling that would disappear bottom first. It's the same thing, just reversed, just flipped on top. It's just because you have a limiting viewing angle to the item that you're looking at, and the most limited angle is always going to be at the point where the item meets the ground, or where the sky meets the ground at the horizon. All right, let's move on. Number 7. If the sun or moon leaves my perspective, why can I see the stars behind or above them? David, anything?
Wait, if the sun leaves your perspective, so when you're looking straight up, you're looking through less atmosphere. I don't believe that we see stars go all the way down to the horizon. Again, they're celestial objects that get cut off beyond the middle layer that we are underneath. And that's it. I mean, you might be able to see a star that looks like it's behind the sun, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, in my opinion, I mean, I would just say that for now, for me, these stars are further. That, and if that light is being projected or manifested, whatever you want to call it, the apparent sun position that I see, I have no doubt that there might be stars, quote unquote, behind that. But again, we're not seeing a physical sun. So it's kind of hard to say that there's things behind something that's not physical, that it's an apparent position. Number 8, what causes the phases of the moon?
Great question.
I think Dave and I differ on this one a little bit, but a lot of people think that the moon is its own light. I can see why they think that, but I do think it has something to do with the sun.
We're in agreement on that.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know whether or not it's getting its light from the sun. For me, when I think about it and I realize that up above the layer of atmosphere that we live in, like Dave talked about, the layer of cake that we live in, up above that, if there's no atmosphere to block the sunlight, then I think the sun can travel all the way across and light up something far away because it's not in the atmosphere. There's nothing stopping that light from going over there. And it might be the sun that's lighting up the moon, but I'm not positive of that. Haven't been up there.
So should I try to explain what we were talking about the other day with the sun and the moon?
Remind me, because I don't. Oh yeah. No, go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah. So the sun. So we see the apparent sun and moon, and imagine you have hanging in your room. I've used this a sheer blue sheet. We'll call that the sky, and you can almost see through it. But if someone's on the other side of it, you can't see them. But if they were lit up, you'd be able to see the light on the sheet. So imagine on the sheet you have a sun that's 6 feet away from the sheet. You're not going to see that sun 6 feet on the other side of the sheet. You're going to see the bright spot on the sheet, and that's your apparent sun. So now imagine that you have a golf ball or whatever, a ball that's to the left to one side of the sun, but it's only 6 inches from the sheet. The sun is going to light up. Now, don't say it's not reflected light, but it's going to light up half of that ball, and the center of that lit part is facing back at the 6 feet. But from our point of view on the other side, we're only going to see a crescent of that light. Making sense? You with me?
So far.
So that crescent light is going to be seen by us on the sheet at the same level that the sun will be. But we're going to look at that crescent and we're going to imagine the rest of it being lit behind it. We're going to like, hey, the sun's kind of in the wrong position. It's not lighting that up from the right angle. And that's what we actually see in the sky. And I believe that the sun isn't lighting it up like a light lights a ball up. I believe the sun is powering up the moon. Whatever it is, the energy, the electricity from the sun is turning the moon on. And we're seeing that lit part. This is just my opinion. I can make an experiment that will show you the same results. And I think that's better than anything the heliocentrists can show us.
Yeah, I want to see you do that because I think it would be interesting. The other thing and I don't remember the name of the element, and I know a lot of people don't think that the moon is necessarily a rock in the sky, I being one of them. But there is some people who believe that it's made of a certain substance, and there's many substances like this. What is it? Cheese? I believe so. Yeah, Swiss. No. But I believe that even Cami is one of them, who thinks that it is a rock celestine, I think, or something that actually glows when it's not hot, and when it gets too hot, it doesn't glow anymore, which is a possibility.
It's a possibility, but if, in my opinion, if that's the case, we're not seeing the Celestine moon. We're seeing the light, being projected or reflected in our sky. So the real thing is out of our, out of where, anything that we know. It's in the water. It's above the water. I don't know what it is, but it's not, the moon is out during the day. Tomorrow, if you have a clear day, go out and look at the moon. It's right there. It's in the sky. There's blue sky behind it. It's just above the clouds.
That brings up a good question, though, and I don't know what your answer will be to this. Is the moon see-through, Dave?
That's a really good question, and I wander back and forth on it. It sure seems to be, but other times, when I zoom in it with my camera, it sure looks pretty solid. So, maybe when I don't know. Again, I don't know the answer, because when it's a new moon, is it see-through or is it not there or is it just invisible?
You don't want to ask me that question. You know my answer. Yeah, I'm one of these strange-ass people that thinks that the moon probably goes behind the sun. But that's just me, and this is why we do this research.
But yeah, in the real moon and real sun, it would go behind the sun. It can go behind the sun. But no, in our projected sun, it could go behind the sun. But in the real sun, it could go in front of the sun, and that the moon could be what's causing the eclipse. I don't know, the solar eclipse.
All right, number 9, what causes the tides? I assume that means on flat Earth. Again, I've talked about this experiment as far as the globe goes, that if you were able to shield off any wind and say you just hung a string inside of a box and you put that box at the beach and you were able to shield off. There's no wind getting to it, and you put a camera inside that box. When it's high tide or low tide, that string is not going to be pulled one direction or the other. It's just crazy to think that the moon is pulling the waters of the earth, but allowing everything else to fly like normal. I mean, poor butterflies on a high tide. Wouldn't they be sucked towards the moon more than any other time, because it's obviously able to pull oceans of water? So what causes the tides on flat Earth? I think it could be a lot of things, but I think when you look at the path of the sun and moon, and then you realize the magnetics are involved, the electromagnetics involved, and it could be a repulsion where the sun and moon cause the waters to kind of flow away from them. And since in our model, the sun and moon, remember, they go around once a day, not like in the crazy heliocentric model where the moon goes around once a month.
No, I'm here. I'm thinking about this stuff all the time. It's just crazy what they want us to believe. Why are there 2 high tides a day, 2 low tides a day when the sun, when it only goes around once? How come the tides are different during a new moon and a full moon when there is no difference in the heliocentric model except one of them has some sunlight on it?
Yeah.
What would the difference be? New moon and a full moon. Crow 777 did a breakdown of the moon and the tides and showed that there is zero correlation, to the tides with that. Also, in inland lakes, giant lakes and stuff, inland waters, they're not pulled by tides. And then another good point is, if it was the gravity of the moon that is able to pull up on the water, which is crazy, the oceans of water, it would pull the water away from the shoreline. It would bulge the oceans out in the middle, and it would be low tide instead of high tide.
All right, and I believe we're going to have somebody join us, a voice from the past or future, whatever you want to call it. Do we have Curious Jay on the phone? That would be awesome. Curious Jay, is that you?
Uh-oh.
We heard.
Hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me? Hey, I hear you guys.
All right, welcome to the show.
What's happening, fellas? Long time, huh?
It's been too long. How you doing? Doing well?
Doing great. I was actually over here on the treadmill, and of course, tuning in. I tune in live to listen to Jeranism RAW as much as I can. Tonight was no different, but I was sitting there just biting my tongue. I had so many things I wanted to say. I was like, I was dying. So
We're getting close to the eclipse question.
Yeah, right.
His head almost burst.
I was getting triggered. I was running faster than I've ever run.
Well, you're on the show now, so if there's any more eclipse questions, you can help us by answering. Let's go to number 9. Let's go to number 10. What causes some planets to show a retrograde motion at times?
Who wants to take that?
So I believe that could.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Jay.
I was sorry about that, guys. No, I was just going to say, my first knee-jerk response to that isn't that I believe that was explained in the Ptolemy's model.
Yeah, I think so
on the
too.
flat model.
Yeah, I think it's because he orbit the sun, right? They orbit the sun, not stars might orbit the sun, not orbit necessarily the Earth.
Correct. And on a stationary Earth where everything is rotating around or above us, in Ptolemy's model, it worked just fine.
Yep, I agree. And I think that's pretty good answer as far as that goes. I don't know why anybody would come back at that one. Let's go to number 11. How do the other observable planets disappear and reappear on a regular basis if the flat Earth is not moving?
They're moving.
Yeah, they're spinning above our head. And they're not at the same pace as the fixed stars, but they have their wanderers, right? Wandering stars.
And sometimes they're up during the day and we can't see them.
Correct.
Yep. They wander past their orbit above us. They wander past our vision at some point. So again, see Ptolemy's model explained all of that.
Great. Let's go to number 12. Why are there 2 fixed stars, Polaris and Sigma Octantis, with a Coriolis effect? Notice the clockwise motion in the southern hemisphere and the counterclockwise motion in the northern hemisphere, and why are the stars in the same in the 3 subcontinents? So again, I mean, that's not
okay. Whoa.
Yeah, no, this is loaded.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, there's a huge error in that question itself. in calling the stationary, well, several errors. First of all, the Sigma Antares, nobody's viewed the actual star, right?
Correct. It's just like
the formation. Well, we assume it's going around, but so Polaris is a fixed or constantly not moving star, so to speak, in from our perspective. But to call that in the same sentence, to call that what do you call it? The Coriolis effect. That's ridiculous. That's like anything that spins opposite directions. Let's just call it Coriolis effect. Like what?
Right. Yeah, you've already made this huge assumption.
It doesn't make sense.
No, and for me, when you look at the path of the sun and moon, that the path of the sun and moon would cause things in the south to deviate one way and things in the north to deviate another way. Think of it like a wake in a boat or whatever.
Yeah. And I guess like for so many of these, I have follow-up questions because they instantly cause me to think of questions that I've had as far as the heliocentric model goes. And so my question is okay, so we see Polaris as stationary from our perspective. We see the clockwise and the counterclockwise rotation when we take the time-lapse videos and we see the star trails going in a spiral. Okay, my question has always been, they tell us that's from the Earth's rotation, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but, as we know, the maximum speed that we could be going in that rotation is 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. Why is it? I mean, we're going 66,000 miles in a sideways direction around the sun every single minute of the day. 66,000 miles an hour. Why are we seeing star trails zooming to the right all the time? Why is it that the rotation, the slow rotation of the Earth, causes the stars to spiral on time lapse, but yet the rotation around the sun does nothing to them?
Yeah, no, you got me with that one. I totally agree. Dave, any comments on that one?
No, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, as far as him saying that the same stars are seen in the same 3 southern continents, so I guess he's talking about Australia, South Africa, and South America, but they're never seeing them at the same time. And when they see them,
I was about to say at different times, yeah.
Yeah, and they've rotated along. There's never, night for all 3 of those locations. And when you go to one location, the entire field of stars is rotated once more. And again, for anybody who doesn't quite get this, and I'll explain it again because it just seems too easy for me, the stars all go east to west, right? And so if you're standing looking north, so somebody who's in the north looking north, the stars are going to rise on your right, which is east, and set on your left, which is west. And if you look at that motion, that is a counterclockwise motion. And then all you have to do is just turn and face south. And if you're facing south now, the stars will rise on your left and set on your right, and therefore they're going around the opposite direction, which would be clockwise. So it's very simple when you just stare up north and imagine the stars are rising on my right and setting on my left, and then you turn around and face south, and now they rise on your left and they go to your right. But they've confused everybody with this idea of Coriolis and this idea of counter rotation in the south when it's as simple as turn around. It's really that simple.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I used that analogy the other day, Jeran, when I said, imagine you're driving through a tunnel. And let's say it's the Christmas holidays, and the city decides to put some Christmas lights inside the tunnel from right ground level up over the tunnel like an arch down to the left side, and they made it like a strobe light, so it goes boop, 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 right to left, right to left. Well, as you're driving down the tunnel, you're seeing it go up from your right to the top and down to the left. Well, simply turn around. You're going to see it the opposite way, left to right.
You must be upside down on a sphere. It's the only thing that.
What? Yeah, right. We must have crossed over to the southern hemisphere.
Right.
There's many things impossible about this, including a city putting Christmas lights in a tunnel. Politically incorrect. Never going to happen.
Let's go.
It was in the Bible Belt area.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Let's go to number 13. Why can't everyone on the flat Earth see the same stars all the time? Well, that's ridiculously easy. They're too far.
Yeah.
What else to tell you? The North Star, once you get about to the equator or so, that North Star will drop for anyone on Earth to about the horizon due to perspective. And if you go a little bit further, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, again, picture yourself in a 2-mile tunnel, Christmas decorations, Hanukkah decorations, Halloween decorations, whatever you want. They're all on the ceiling. So you got a star here, and then a bell there, and then a candy cane there. Well, guess what? When you're at the one end of the tunnel, you can only see certain decorations. You can't see the decorations that are on the ceiling 2 miles down. They're out of your vision.
Right. I've tried to describe it before for people by saying put yourself in a huge room that's 5 miles long every direction, and the ceiling's as low as we have it, and just picture there's a light on the ceiling. Well, if it gets not very far away from you, that light's going to disappear. It's going to be occulted or, by the ground. Let's go to the next one, number 15. This is hilarious. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen. What happens to a supernova in the firmament? What does that mean?
What? If a gigantic star explodes inside the firmament, wouldn't that be devastating to us all? Banned. Next.
We don't believe in supernovas, and we don't believe in neutron stars, which, by the way, if you believe in the heliocentric model, you believe that neutron stars exist, and that 1 teaspoon of a neutron star, just 1 teaspoon, picture grabbing a little spoon, taking a little teaspoon, they say weighs 22 billion pounds. So, if you believe that, there's not a lot I can do. That. Yeah, you used to believe that. You went to class for it, I think. Now I see a video. Dave, you didn't tell me there was link videos in here. This one says, "What about the curve?" And then it's a link to a video. Maybe I should go there and look at it real quick.
I have no idea what it is. I didn't look at it.
It says container ship.
My response would be, "What's your
horizon?" Oh man, this is such an easy. Okay. Yeah, and all you need to do is go watch the video that I just did with Ranty. And we explained exactly what's going on here. You can actually see where the boat, it's just going off in the distance for people looking for this. I guess I can put this link in the description. But the boat is not being occulted by the curvature of the Earth. It's going too far off in the distance, getting smaller, and then it kind of fizzles out and dissolves into the horizon. So that's another easy one. Let's go on to, so that was 15, 16, now we're on 17. What causes the aurora borealis and the aurora australis? Why can't everyone see them? Well, again, at least the northern lights are exclusive to the north. So it's just like the northern star. You can't be very far away from it. And in fact, we can't even see it from, say, California. I can't see the northern lights, assuming that it's a atmospheric effect for just the area around the pole. You guys?
Yeah. Jeran, can you see my living room?
Why not?
See your living room.
Why can't you see my living room?
Yeah, can you see the same clouds? Can you see? I mean, we can't see the same clouds from coast to coast.
No, that means that they had to have gone over the curve of the sphere Earth. It can't just be because they're too far.
Gotcha. Couldn't be that.
All right, next question.
All right, can you explain the ice wall during the Cretaceous period when the polar ice caps did not exist?
Next question.
Next question.
So again, if you just want to believe in everything you're told, okay, enjoy yourself. What have Ryan Waters and all the other polar explorers like Spear 17 proved to you?
That they're liars?
Well, I don't think they're going where they think they are. It's just like the guy who has the record for north-south circumnavigation with a plane. He went to the 90-degree mark, turned around, and went back. So what did that prove to me? It proves that we can't circumnavigate north-south. What did it prove to you?
Well,
they give him the record anyway.
Correct. And I mean, so when answering that, I got to bring in my favorite thing that I used to bring up all the time on the podcast, and that is magnetic declination. If you visited the North Pole since the 1700s, when they introduced magnetic declination into the equation, then basically you've never really gone to the North Pole, because as you journey north and you're following your compass north, magnetic declination tells you, no, you need to adjust it by 10 degrees. Oh, okay, now 20. And as you get closer to the North Pole, the adjustment becomes further and further away. So they're steering you around the North Pole. And if someone says, well, no, magnetic declination is real, my follow-up question to them is how did the explorers prior to the 1700s, when this magnetic declination was introduced, how did they map things so perfectly if they weren't using magnetic declination?
Right. No, great point. Definitely.
So I don't think anyone since the 1700s, if you look up an explorer that went to the North Pole, they likely used magnetic declination and they didn't go. Boom.
I would agree with that. Next question. Now I lost my list. Where are we at? Okay, number 20. What section of the Antarctic Treaty prevents exploration? Okay, so what they're talking about is the document, the Antarctic Treaty document, that says all these countries are getting in on this together, and it will only allow scientific exploration. We won't allow companies to go out and exploit the resources. So he's asking, I knew I was coming. Don't go anywhere, guys. When you get back, you can either go to Ginger Sugarbush's channel, or check us out on TFRlive.com. Listen now. See you then.
Killing this stream?
Killing this stream.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Ella, and I'm 10 years old. I'm one of the millions of children born to parents suffering from the sheeple virus. Symptoms include the inability to think for oneself, the attention span of a goldfish, and a strong belief in government and the mainstream media. It is estimated that 1 out of every 2 children are being raised by parents infected with the sheeple virus. But there is a cure. For as little as 19 cents per day, you can become a TFR supporter and help children like me get their daily dose of truth. Together, we will make sure every child has protection from deception.
Lawmaker punished. The closure continues. I'm Ann Cates. House Republican leaders have stripped all committee assignments from Iowa Congressman Steve King over his comments on white supremacy and white nationalism. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has also denounced King over his remarks, saying there is no place in the Republican Party, the Congress, or the country for an ideology of racial supremacy of any kind. House Democrats are also seeking formal punishment for King, who has denied that he's racist and said his comments were mischaracterized. The House may vote on a resolution on King as early as tomorrow. The federal government shutdown continues with no end in sight.
Facing some pushback within his own party, the president telling reporters he's not inclined to take the drastic step to find money for his border wall elsewhere.
I'm not looking to call a national emergency. This is so simple, you shouldn't have to.
That would prompt a court challenge, perhaps with a delay of months, if not years. The president also not on board, with Senator Lindsey Graham's suggesting he allow government to reopen for 3 weeks or so, which might make Democrats more flexible on border security money.
Well, that was a suggestion that Lindsey made, but I did reject it, yes. I'm not interested. I want to get it solved. I don't want to just delay it. I want to get it solved.
Bob Costantini, the White House.
A confirmation hearing begins tomorrow for the president's pick for Attorney General William Barr. Correspondent Linda Kenyon.
Barr, who served as Attorney General during the George H.W. Bush administration, has been under scrutiny since his nomination in December over his past criticisms of Bob Mueller's Russia probe. In prepared remarks, Barr will try to allay any concerns, saying, "I will follow the special counsel regulations scrupulously and in good faith. On my watch, Bob will be allowed to complete his work."
Wall Street pulled back today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 86 points. The S&P 500 closed down 14, while the Nasdaq was off 66 points at the close. I'm Ann Cates.
You are now tuned into the Truth Frequency.
We are TFR. TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Don't be surprised, don't be surprised. Walk like us. They even talk like us. Walk like us. But they are not like us. On the weekday, you can see the signs, you can see the signs. They wear the disguise. Look into the mind's eye. There's nowhere to hide. No stick-covered lines. Whispers from afar.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to Jeranism Monday Night Raw. We're here with Dave, deep inside the rabbit hole, myself, Jeran from Jeranism, and Curious Jay, the long-lost voice from the Flat Earth podcast. Did you get your award? Did Dave let you borrow it at least for a week?
What's What's that? What did I get my what?
Your award for the best Flat Earth podcast. You guys should be sharing that. Yeah, Dave, you should be sending that between.
We should be. That's right.
It's
my turn to hold on to it, right?
All right. So let's go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. So before we went to break, we were answering number.
Antarctica.
Thank you. What section of the Antarctic prevents exploration? And again, we've talked about this many times, that a person cannot just go down there. Think about the amount of equipment and supplies and everything else that you need. It needs to be a very joint effort with governments and money and resupply ships.
Yeah.
If it's not going to be just David and I going down there and checking it out.
Yeah, Jeran, I've got the quick, easy answer for the guy. Go to YouTube, type in Antarctica. Sorry, we're closed.
Excellent.
It's a video by Taboo Conspiracy. Yeah, it's about 9 months ago. It was the definitive. This guy researched to the letter all of the rules, all of the application procedures, etc. So you want to know who's preventing people from going? Go watch that video, and it answers all those questions.
Yep. And if you go back even further to some of my videos on the subject, and you can find out that one company basically owns all the domains for any kind of travel to Antarctica. They kind of control it all. Yep. And everything goes to that tiny little fishtail thing that kind of pops out down near South America. That's where all the cruise ships go. That's where all the exploratory little excursions that you can pay $50,000 to go see a penguin. That's where you go. No, you don't go inside the walls, quote unquote.
Where do I sign up for that?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, number 21, I believe we're on now. What keeps us on flat Earth if not gravity? Because density and buoyancy do not account for acceleration.
Acceleration.
What keeps
Is he talking about the Earth accelerating upwards?
I hope
the Flat Earth Society says.
Yeah,
I was ready to answer. I was ready to answer him until he said the acceleration part, which I didn't quite understand.
Yeah, I don't really get that either. As far as what keeps us on a flat Earth, that's a big contention. I know even David and I have a disagreement on it as far as that goes, because I do think it's explained pretty simply with density and buoyancy and the fact that it's whatever medium you're. It's a relative density, meaning it depends what medium you're in. When you're in air, if you weigh more than air, if you're more dense than the air, then you fall down. So I don't know.
Correct. That's how I feel too, Jeran. And I think the theory that you guys put forth on Globebusters, I know Bob's put it out there quite a few times, that if the Earth is electromagnetic and has electrostatic to it, then that's what causes your up and down. Everything else is density and buoyancy.
Well, that's I'm totally in agreement there, Jay. The electrostatic charge of the Earth, for lack of a better word, just establishes a weak downforce. They say gravity's weak. Well, that is just establishing down, and then buoyancy and density do everything beyond that. Because I was talking to Jeran the other day, and think about this. You're in a void. There's nothing in any direction. You're just in a black void. Okay? You're not falling in any direction. Now slip a land underneath you. You haven't moved. Nothing's changed. Slip land underneath you. Are you going to fall all of a sudden start traveling towards the land? No, unless there was some sort of static charge that was pulling you towards it. And then we can demonstrate this with, in a lab with electricity, where it will attract things. So that's my belief. And it's a hell of a lot better than the whole gravitational nonsense.
Totally agree.
Yeah, just like dust particles are attracted to the old school TV screens.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. And Bob does a great job. I don't remember which episode of Globebusters it was. Search Globebusters and gravity, and you'll find Bob give a great presentation on it. Number 22. What causes a spherical drop of water? I don't understand. What is the meaning of that? So is he saying that the Earth is a spherical drop of water?
Well, they say the water curves, things form spheres naturally. That's not so true. I mean, an apple is kind of round. Orange is pretty round.
A drop of water. Yeah.
Well, no, if it's floating in without gravity, maybe it'll be perfectly round. But show me any body of water at rest, and it's flat.
Right.
A gallon or more.
Yeah, watch that drop of water as it falls, and it's going to end up in some sort of puddle or basin or.
Well, it'll have a dome top to it. A drop of water will create a beautiful dome. Take a gallon of water and try to make it do a dome or a ball.
And again, I tell people all the time when they say, "Oh, well, in the ISS, a ball of water would." Well, yeah, but even if you dumped out a pitcher of water in the ISS, the water would go everywhere. It's not like it would all gather together due to gravity and make a big spherical ball. No, they make balls on the ISS. They're like squeezing it out of a straw. Which, if you do that,
and even science is. Yeah, even science's. I'm sorry. Even science's explanation. They don't even use the word gravity. They just say that the molecules of the water are attracted to each other.
Correct.
They're pulling themselves towards each other, what keeps it as a droplet.
Surface tension.
They don't say anything about gravity. It's not like the water formed its own gravity in the center of the drop.
No, they call it surface tension. It's what keeps water together. It's the same thing that explains. Oh boy, what do you call it when the water lips over the edge of a glass? What is the name of that?
Spillage.
Meniscus.
Yeah.
Overflow.
Yeah, meniscus. The meniscus of water is when you have a glass of water. If you pour a little bit of extra water in, it will actually come above the lip just a little bit, and that's because of the surface tension of the water.
The surface tension. But if you look at water in a glass that's not to the top, the edges will curl up a little bit. That's the meniscus of the water, right? The edges will climb the glass a little bit,
like in a
yeah.
Kind of on a bigger scale, perhaps the ice wall is the meniscus of the Earth's oceans.
Very interesting. I like that.
Next.
Number 23 is what about space? So, and then he
These are questions no flat earther will ever address, and half of them are because it's like, are you kidding me? Do a little bit of research.
The link to the image that he showed.
This guy's not. He has not researched flat Earth one bit.
No, he shows us an image. I just clicked on the link. The link goes to an image of the Earth. It's the Earthrise photo from the moon. And I've never seen anything look more ridiculously fraudulent in my life. And yet this is what this question is. The picture of the moon is completely CGI. It's so far from being real, it's not even funny. So, yeah.
The only thing more fraudulent than that, Jeran, is the thing that we all grew up with in every classroom in the world with the spiral Milky Way galaxy, the "You Are Here" picture.
Yeah, I've seen that one. That is classic. And
who took that picture?
If you go back to the YouTube video that this was on, the first hour at least, I'll put all these questions in the description with the links so people can follow these links if they would like. Number 20, that was 23. What about space? Number 24. What about tectonic plates, earthquakes, volcanoes, especially calderas on a flat Earth? Because no flat earther seems to know what is beneath the surface.
Well, no
earthers know.
Yeah. Well, no, he's absolutely right. No flat earther, which is every single person here, knows what's below the surface. Nobody knows because we can't get below 8 miles. Somebody said it really well the other day, that plate tectonics work better on a flat Earth than they do on a sphere, because on a sphere, all the continents are locked together from all sides. So if anything moves, everything has to move. On a flat Earth, we don't know what's out beyond Antarctica. There could be plenty of room to move around, for things to move around.
Right, and then you get into
I'd have to put that there.
Go ahead.
Right. No, I was just going to say I'd have to put the plate tectonics issue. I'd have to put that in the bucket. Works on both.
Right, and there's some things out there that you can't question, and one of them is plate tectonics. If you just look it up, people will tell you that is a cemented science. There is no question about that. And whenever I see that, I have my questions.
I raises flags.
Raises flags. When the government tells me or the news tells me not to do something, my first inkling is to go do that. So,
that's
just me.
Yep.
Number 25. What about the firmament and the four corners of the earth? And then they link to an Answers in Genesis question about does the Bible teach that the earth is flat? I don't know what he's getting at here. I don't know what position he's taking.
What about it? I don't know.
I don't think any of us three don't use the Bible as evidence of the flat earth because we don't think we need it. So if you're asking us about the four corners of the earth, Dave, have you ever said the four corners of the earth? I haven't, and you haven't. No. I don't think Jay has either. So that one doesn't apply to us. Number 26, what keeps the flat Earth from us flipping over and killing us all?
What stops your basement floor from flipping over and killing you and your family?
Yeah, it's usually I'm pretty confident in my basement floor.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
Again, it's a baller with the mentality that the disk, the Earth is a flat planet floating in infinite space, and what's holding it level. The way I say it is there, and I forget who came up with this, but maybe it was you, Jeran. Just think of the Earth as the basement of the universe. It's the foundation of the universe, and everything else is rotating above it.
Right.
And until it's below the basement, we don't know.
Yeah, until proven otherwise. My question is, or my position is, that the Earth is all there is. So as far as what's below it, what's outside of it, what's 50 million miles that way, I don't know. Because
no clue.
The Earth is all I know, so the Earth is all there is, and it makes sense to me. All the life is here, all the flora and fauna is here. Every bit of life that's ever been observed by anyone with any telescope or anything at all has been right here on Earth within this 25,000 mile circumference at the equator, if you want to call it that. So I don't need to answer what would happen if the Earth flipped over, because the Earth is all there is. So that, guys, is that's the 26 questions that no flat earther will answer.
Wow, I was expecting better.
So I don't know. Hopefully we answered some of those to his liking. I'm sure many of them were not answered to his liking, and maybe he can comment on that video and tell us which ones weren't to his liking. But again, I didn't get the opportunity, and I don't think Dave did or Jay, to just simply ask the 26 questions that we had about flat Earth when we got involved in this and have them answered for us. It took research. It took me realizing that there's other explanations for things other than what I was given.
Right. There's more than one explanation for things, and sometimes a much better one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you touched on this, Jeran. You touched on this just a second ago about it's a red flag when they say, okay, this is a fact. This is, don't look into it. Tectonics are 100%. Well, on that note, like, to me, when I was looking into this, I'm very skeptical of either side when they 100% know everything, especially in a subject like, hello, it's science. It's ever changing, right? We're supposedly learning more all the time. And science 100 years ago said that, flight would never happen. Things like that. I mean, this is an ever changing field. And yet I'm so skeptical when I find a group or a side of the argument that just says, no, we have the answer to every single thing. We can't show you scientific proof, but you know what? We have an answer. I much prefer the flat Earth side of things that says, you know what? We don't know. We're still looking into it.
Right. Yeah.
The moon phases, meteors. We don't exactly know yet, but we're trying to find out.
One of the NASA scientists, head scientist or whatever, her name is Michelle Thaler. People might remember she made a video laughing at the idea of flat Earth. I have a little quote here. Somebody asked her, they said, so we don't know what 96% of the universe is? And Michelle Thaler says, we don't know what 96% of the universe is, and that's a problem. Anytime you want to talk about how the universe began, how it's evolving over time, or how galaxies and stars form, what are you going to say if we don't know what 96% of it is up to? So the talk I'm going to give is going to be a little bit about the history of how we could be that stupid, how we could say that 96% of the universe is in a form that we don't even know what it is. Where do we go from here, and how do we find it? So this is one of NASA's main scientists admitting that they don't know what 96% of the universe is made up of, but they're going to laugh at flat earthers. And at least we say the same. We don't know. We don't know.
Right. Same thing with Michio Kaku, Jeran. Remember his statement where he's like, as far as the stars and all that goes, the margin for error on that is 10 to the 120th. Like, what?
Yeah, it's the biggest
that's
mismatch.
Your margin of error?
Right. They said it's the biggest mismatch in the history of science and experiment. And this is what people hang on to and believe.
You said it the other day.
Right.
Lose 100 zeros and get back to us. It's when you only have 20 zeros after it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Let's talk
another quick quote about the cosmological principle, which, if people don't know what that is, it's basically the principle that tells us that we are just one of many, and that all the galaxies are moving away from us, and everything about it is that we are expanding and everything. And theoretical physicist Richard Feynman said on the cosmological principle, the assumption that we have just mentioned implies a very strong uniformity in the universe. It is a completely arbitrary hypothesis as far as I understand it. Well, all you have to do is know what the definition of arbitrary is. Go look that up. It says based on random choice or personal whim. So this is yeah, and this is Richard Feynman, and I like Richard Feynman, at least, the stuff that I've seen him say, I tend to agree with. He may have believed in something completely different than I do. But when I see him talk about the cosmological principle and then say it's a completely arbitrary hypothesis, which means it's based on random choice or personal whim. It's not based on evidence, not based on observations. It's based on what these guys want in their personal worldview.
Yeah. I just grew up thinking that science was the opposite of a personal whim.
Right. That's well. Here's the problem. Jay, is that when they teach you about the scientific method, it's such a great thing to learn, and you're sitting there at school, and you're like, man, this is the way to find the truth. And so when then they start naming a bunch of things that fall into this quote unquote science, you automatically assume that what they're talking about all went through this perfect system, this scientific method.
Yeah.
So when you start going to look at what's this evidence, and all of a sudden you realize, no. Some of science, and many would say most of it, is based on a personal worldview. It's the worldview that we're an accident, the worldview we're insignificant, the worldview that we had to have been here billions of years for things to naturally evolve the way they are without any kind of creation event. And so, yeah, that's what happens, is that you end up into this this world that science has built for us that is completely and totally unattainable, in my opinion.
Yeah. I was on a plane ride today, guys, and I was on a plane ride today. I was making a list of my questions to science, right? Most of these questions we've all asked before on Globebusters, the podcast, Dave's stuff. But my question, I know science's answers, but what I want to know was the scientific method used on each of these questions? For instance, we know two things can cause something to disappear on the horizon. We know for a fact that it can be a flat surface. People have made many videos showing this, where a guy walking away from you on the football field disappears from the feet up, right? Not because it's a sphere, it's because perspective, right?
Correct.
But we also know that if you were on a sphere, then yes, you could disappear, feet or what do you call it, hull before mast, right? We know two things could cause that for sure. So what has mainstream science done to eliminate the perspective part and say, yes, in fact, it is because of a sphere? That is what science is supposed to do. If you come to two answers, you cannot make it a fact. You cannot make it a scientific fact until you've eliminated all other possibilities.
No, that's not the way science works, though. I've talked about it many times when you talk about Edwin Hubble and his seeing that the galaxies were all moving away from us. So at that point, you have two decisions. Either one, we're the center of the universe, or two, something else is going on. Well, they searched and searched until they got an idea, and they said, wait a second. If we live on a balloon and you put a bunch of polka dots on that balloon and you blow that balloon up, that all those polka dots will start moving away from each other. And so they said, that must be it. But they didn't even explore the other option, because the other option was the center. Yeah, the other option made us the center of the universe. They don't want anything to do with that, so they just tuck it away.
Sure.
Pretend like it doesn't exist.
Yep, that's right.
And you're
trying horrifying of an answer.
Yeah, and then when you talk about like what you just said with boats going over the horizon, the saddest part is they're exposing themselves as being pseudoscience in the fact that we're watching, and there is no videos of boats going over the curvature of the Earth. They're all dissolving horizon line. So you start asking yourself,
out of the same,
go ahead.
Right, because out of the same mouths that say that, they'll say, well, we're so small, we can't possibly see or measure the curve.
Right. But then a boat 3 miles away is starting to disappear.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can with a 30-foot boat, though.
Then you can see the curvature of the Earth.
Like what? Like, oh gosh, I posted a video a year or so ago, back when we were all exploring with the little, what do you call it, the glass dome magnifying glass.
Oh, what a beautiful find that was! Yeah.
Right. So the video that I posted, actually, it makes no statement to say that this is what causes the star's rotation. But it's just interesting that you can actually, from within that dome, from underneath that dome, if you place stars rotating around it and look through to see the stars rotating, depending on what side you look, they're going to go the opposite way. Now, in no way did I say that this is, in fact, what's happening on Earth. We are inside a big magnifying glass dome. That's not what I said. I didn't say anything like that. The point of the video was to show that if one other thing can cause a phenomenon like the stars rotating difference, then you have to effectively rule it out. And my question to science is, what have you done to rule things like that out?
Right. No, and what your video showed is opened everybody's minds. and gave us that opinion that, hey, there is other explanations to this. And all of a sudden you start realizing that you do live in a atmospheric dome, an atmospheric bubble, if you want to call it that. That's what you live in. That's what everybody exists in, and everything's going to render itself accordingly. And so, yeah, when you show us that the stars go the opposite direction just by moving your glance a little bit, it seems to explain a lot. And again, what has science done to eliminate those ideas?
To rule it out. Yeah,
Right.
like exactly. Like right before I got on the line with you guys, I was about to fall off the treadmill from going nuts listening to the guy's questions. When he said, when he was asking about the shadow, the round shadow on the moon, being the Earth and blah, blah, blah. And I think I texted you guys, that's a huge assumption. Why do we know that how do we know that it is the shadow? And then I sent you guys that picture that I love to show people. If you Google wasp, water, shadow, you'll get a picture of a wasp on the water. And at the bottom of the pool, the shadow of his little feet become perfect spheres.
Right.
Because it's surface tension on the water. It creates the shadow of a sphere. And I'm not in any way saying that there's a giant visible wasp in the air.
I was just going to say that.
David was going to.
Right.
I was going to say that.
In no way, shape, or form am I saying that a giant wasp, invisible obviously, is causing the lunar eclipse. However,
because you're saying it doesn't mean it's not true. Go ahead.
Right, but my question is science, what have you done to rule out surface tension on a fluid causing a round shadow out of the equation? What have you done to eliminate that from the equation? You didn't.
Right. When we can
You
see.
guys made up this thing hundreds of years ago. Yeah.
No, totally agree. Yeah, I don't know what else they can do to get around that, because it's simply them not doing science like we're told that they do. And again, once they've gone this far, and once they've told the world that it's a ball and that science is so much better than religion because it gets to the real crux of the issue and it teaches the world about it, how are they going to go back on that and ever claim that something they said was wrong? They're just not going to do it, and they're going to protect it no matter what.
No.
And when it comes to the astrophysics, those things are things people can't go and test themselves. They're lights in the sky. Nobody's going to Mars. Nope. Nobody's verifying that NASA is actually in orbit of Saturn. And all you have to do is go look at their website, the Cassini mission, or look at the what's the other one, Juno mission, all these missions, and go look at the images that they're sending back from these astronomical bodies. And if you can't tell that they're completely CGI, then I'm not the person to help you. You can believe that if you want.
Yep.
So, yeah. Jay, do you have anything else for us, or else I'm going to let you go because we've got a bunch of callers. We're going to take some calls the last half hour, but we've got 4
No, that's about it.
And any good videos you've seen lately, or anything that's been on your mind?
Man, lots of things on the mind. As far as great videos, I loved the one that I sent you guys recently. Gosh, I can't even think of who did it, but the one that explains why we see the Earth curving from convex to concave to flat from high altitudes.
Oh, I love that video.
Yeah, I've got to look that up and see who did it. Maybe I'll text it to you guys during the remainder of the show. But great video. I just thought that was groundbreaking in the fact that he sat there and proved, hey, science says that there's a apparent position of the sun and an actual position of the sun due to light bending when we're on the surface of the Earth. But they never talk about the fact that if you're above a certain altitude, that bending would happen as well, looking down at the surface of the Earth. And then the guy shows, like with a prism in his house, he looks through the prism at a straight bar in his house that becomes curved.
Right.
And we've all used the GoPro answer, which I think applies plenty of times, but it also explains why the horizon actually bends before your eyes, even when not using a GoPro camera.
Yeah,
because you're looking through a prism.
Right, or your eyes. Your eyes are a spherical lens, so they would do the same thing.
Yep, I think that video was incredible, beginning to end. Everyone should watch that. And then the last thing I'll say is I've used this analogy in the past, but when you go to the doctor with a cough, if he just immediately diagnoses you with pneumonia, he's not doing his job. He's got to eliminate tons of other things: allergies, common cold, flu, sore throat. He's got to eliminate all that, right?
Right.
Smoking. He can't just jump to one conclusion and just go with that because it fits his pharmaceutical model. I mean, this guy would be well, I was about to say disbarred, but that's for lawyers. He'd have his medical license revoked.
Right.
But the same thing with science. If there's other explanations, you cannot just go with your theory because it fits your model. That's all I got.
Hey,
see you later, Curious Jay.
I was Curious Jay. We'll be right back with more Dave and I and your calls on Jeranism RAW. Don't go anywhere.
It's amazing how people have been raving about ILife all over Facebook. They've been posting their testimonials just because they want to get the word out because it's worked so well for them. If you're not familiar with ILife, it's a 99% pure CBD oil. But the secret is the synergy between the hemp and the ayahuasca vine, the non-psychoactive component of the ayahuasca tea. We recently received an email from a wife whose husband has Parkinson's. For the first time, he's been able to sleep through the entire night. Another customer reported that they're no longer using NSAIDs because their tennis elbow has been relieved with ILife. The reports have been phenomenal and much more than we ever expected. Everyone should have access to this. That's why if you head on over to ILife.com right now and use coupon code TFR, we'll give you $5 towards your order. And we'll even ship it worldwide. That's ILife.com. AYA-life.com.
Hey folks, guess what the #1 phrase that Life Change Tea receives by email? You ready? We love this tea! We love this tea! Time after time, week after week, we love this tea! Life Change Tea gives you more energy, a beautiful cleansing, and fulfills its slogan perfectly. The tea that makes you go. So if you want to be on your health game, log on to getthetea.com and order Life Change Super Strength Tea. Packages come in a 1-month supply, and when you brew this stuff, wait until you see the results. Aren't we all about the results? And with a lot of people's health struggling, we can use a little bit of help. Doctors will tell you disease starts in the gut. So log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Be our next email saying, I love this tea. I love this tea. Get the tea at getthetea.com. Helping America one tea bag at a time.
For 5,000 years, the world was ruled with wooden ships by one man. 242 years ago, a small group of free men crafted a new nation built on liberty and freedom. Global elites have been fighting to destroy this new nation called America ever since. Based on actual events, Charm of Favor tells a true story of how they corrupted the election system. They infiltrated federal agencies and murdered witnesses, judges, and even presidents to keep from being caught. Now, the largest and wealthiest crime syndicate the world has ever known has been drawn out of the shadows. They have killed hundreds of Americans and recently attempted to assassinate half our congressmen. Still, they escape arrest through an almost supernatural charm of favor. Read Charm of Favor and be prepared to open your eyes to what may lie just around the corner. Charm of Favor is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
No hate, no hype, no fear. Real people, real radio.
All right, welcome back. You are listening to the #1 show on TFR on Monday nights. And Dave, I got to be honest, it's going to be tough for me to get through this last half hour because I've got a vegetable medley in the slow cooker and my entire house smells of so much goodness I can't see straight. So I'm just letting you know that I'm looking forward to.
I have a full belly and I'm not hungry at all, so.
Yeah, tomato soup. I know, tomato soup. So let's go to the phones and see if we can rattle some off. There is a huge line of people, so I'm going to say keep it short.
Want to do one question and one question only?
Yeah, just get your point out and let's blow through them.
You have to be strict. If they say, "Hey, how you doing?" That's it. Hang up. They're done. That's their question.
That's
okay.
their question.
As soon as they ask a question, they're done. No matter what it is.
Also, I was listening to Mark Sargent's show, and something that he does that I never do is he calls out the area code first, and I figured at least that tells the person that's on the line that we're going to them. So I'm going to try that one. So we're going to the 719 area code. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from? And that worked real well. Thank you. I think the person just hung up. 77 minutes on hold and hung up. Call back 719, and I'll try and get you in. Let's go to the 570 area code. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from? And we're off to a great...
Hello, you can hear me?
There we go. What's going on?
No, I got you.
All right. What's up?
Hello. First-time caller.
All right, bring it.
We're ready.
Got me?
Ask
All right.
a question.
Well, I had a couple of comments, but if you want me to ask a question for question's sake, does it count as a glober? Do you consider yourself more of a snow glober?
I'm a little bit of a snow glober myself. But go ahead.
You mentioned something before, and I wanted to share a few pieces of insight with you. No, I coined it. Sorry.
No, Dave steals anything.
David,
you put it out there, Dave will run with it. So it's Dave's now.
Dave, I actually bought you a gift, Dave, without even ever knowing you or meeting you. I thought I would give it to you at the conference, but I couldn't ever really find you, and then I forgot the gift at my hotel, so it wouldn't have worked anyway.
Great.
Although I am working in Long Island at the end of the week. I was curious about how to be in touch with you guys. But anyway, back to my insight that I wanted to share. I know you got a lot of callers. A couple things that you were mentioning about tidal rise and how it, we have high tide, low tide. Okay. Have you ever done just a simple experiment anybody can do in their own kitchen with two glasses, one of which has water in it, and it's a little bit larger than the other glass that's empty and upside down and put into the water?
Nope. Go ahead. Tell us about it.
Well, it's just real simple. You have one glass. It's a little bit larger than the other glass. Fill it with water, maybe halfway, and take the other empty glass, put it upside down into the glass, and just carefully lower it and watch what happens to the water that's inside. And think about if we are under this, giant dome, how the barometric pressure and the tidal levels can be manipulated because of such an effect.
Beautiful. I think that's great and well said. And Dave, just so if people want to reach you, is the best place is to go to info at the Flat Earth Podcast, or where can they reach you if they have questions?
That's the best way. Info at the Flat Earth Podcast. And if you want to contact me, feel free, but just keep it short. If you send me a novel, I just don't have time to read it. So get to the point. Honest. I mean, Jeran,
we talked about it today.
Like if we responded to read all of our emails, we wouldn't be able to do anything else. So unfortunately, I don't get to do that. But if you have something important, send it on an email. If it's nonsense, you won't hear back from me.
Yeah, and if you absolutely want me to read something, I guess the best way to do it right now is P.O. Box 3044, Merced, California 95344. So far, everything that somebody sent, I've read and responded to, except for today's mail, which I still have to respond to. So that's probably the best way if you want to get my attention. Otherwise, ask.fm/Jeranism. I do look at those sometimes, or or Jeranism at Yahoo is my mass email, but I've got over 7,000 unread and mowing through them as fast as I possibly can. Let's go to the next caller. You're in the 438 area code. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from?
Hey, hi, Jeran. Danielle here from Quebec.
Hey, welcome, Quebec. How's it going over there in Canada? Cold?
Yes, a little.
What's going on?
Well, nice to meet you guys. I didn't think you'll take my call. I wasn't prepared for a question because I'm a flat earther. I'm convinced and converted after 2 hours. And I'm blind also, so I can't get why people will not realize we live on a flat Earth. Yeah, I used to see perfectly before 2006. I became blind because of glaucoma. But I remember when I was seeing, and I feel I'm more intelligent since November 2015 when I discovered about flat Earth. And you're my favorite teacher out there, Jeranism. So thank you for enlightening us.
2 hours? It took you 2 hours? Is that what you said?
To be converted, yeah. I was listening back then to Truth is Stranger Than Fiction on the Mike Adams radio network, which has been removed since then because I guess he's afraid of flat Earth. But I listened to a 2-hour show, and then I listened to a few videos, and that was it. I was converted, and I said, wow, for 2 weeks in a row, every video was a revelation, and I can still see in my mind, what people look like or things or the environment. So, it's been the best realization of my life. I feel so good since I've discovered the truth about it. And so at some point I was listening to you, and scientists have a big problem because if God is into the picture, there's some things, we have to let go. We will never be able to explain.
Do you mean Truth is Stranger Than Lies with me and Patricia on Mike Adams
Yeah,
Network?
yeah. You bet. That's it. I have a memory issue, so that's it. That's right.
That's
so
right.
you were the first one I listened to.
It's amazing. Now, are you able to convince any sighted people that the Earth is flat, or are they just looking at you and rolling their eyes? Not that you can tell, but
Well, I think I developed when I started realizing what's happening. I started to do a web page with all the best videos I've seen, and I've written a letter to introduce the subject to my family, friends, suppliers, because I'm in business, and most of my suppliers know that I know flat Earth is flat. So, but I'm ready. I don't mind the ridiculousness. They are ridiculous because we don't live on a farm.
Hold on a minute. You're compiling videos, and you're completely blind. So my videos must be horrible for you. They're just music. My videos.
No, I like. Well, I like your web. I like your website. There's lots of information, but in fact, when a video just have music, I skip because, or what I'll do most of the time, I will go to the comment section and read because that helps me to understand the psychology of liars. Because I know it's a big Freemason gimmick, and they're very afraid that we expose their biggest lie, So but anyway, your videos are so enlightening, and we're preparing actually a Flat Earth conference in France, in Quebec, next summer. So you'll receive invitation from us.
Did you ever consider starting your own podcast or radio show? You'd be fantastic.
I agree.
Well, actually, my field of expertise is the alternative medicine. I'm a Nikola Tesla adept, and we're preparing something big with lots of alternative medical devices. And I don't want to go out there and make my first videos with Flat Earth. I prefer bringing some big good news to the autism community with lots of technologies. I don't want to push what we're doing. We'll talk about it later. But anyway, Flat Earth is so powerful. It's the most beautiful gift we can have because it's a miracle.
I totally agree.
It's amazing. Yeah.
I'll appreciate
Flat
that.
Earth. Wait, before we let him go, I'm just really enjoying this call. You said early in the call that your life is just so wonderful since you've discovered Flat Earth, and I believe that a lot of depression and people that are just not feeling right, kind of like Neo in the Matrix, it's because you're lost in this lie. But when you see the truth, it sets you free. The truth does set you free and lifts you up at 9.8 meters per second.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we listened to Owen Benjamin at the beginning, and he asked that question, right? Is it the reason for your depression?
Yeah.
I certainly am enjoying my life a lot better now. It just I'm able to take life as it's given to me and not be forced into a system of belief that was thrown on me without any, input of my own and without even the ability to question it or think about it. And now that I am able to question it and think about it, shedding it completely is the most freeing feeling I can ever even begin to describe.
All right.
Exactly.
All right. Well, appreciate the call so much. Let's move on. We got a couple more callers. Next caller's from the 905 area code. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this? Where are you from?
Hey, Jeran, it's Ginger. Hey, David.
Ginger.
I was going to keep it short.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, just telling everybody you're simulcasting and running the chat over there at your channel, Ginger Sugarbush 905.
Yeah, it was awesome to hear Curious Jay tonight because I went through a bunch of Flat Earth podcasts and I dug out the Tilt the Marshmallow and I posted that on my channel. So if you guys ever want to tell anyone about Tilt the Marshmallow.
Oh, you have the original conversation on your channel, or you're talking about the video by Andrew?
I know I couldn't find Andrew's at all.
Oh, it's on his channel.
So,
but no, I know what you're talking about.
I
check it out after the show because I don't remember laying in bed and laughing as hard as I did the time that Curious Jay actually said that on the air. I was dying. I thought it was so classic, so good.
And it happened over 2 weeks. So it was the Walking Dead episode of the Flat Earth podcast. That's what it was titled. And then the week before that.
Very good.
So,
thanks.
Well, thank you.
And Karen B was a guest on there. So
that's right. It was.
That's
Karen
another
B was a guest. I do remember
place
that.
to find it.
Yep. The sultry voice.
Take the next call, guys.
All right.
Appreciate the call. Let's
Love
go
you
to the caller. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. We're going to the 334. What's up? Hello. You got something going on in the background.
Yep. Can you hear?
Yep, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
We can't.
Go ahead.
Good thing you get 3 questions because you've already used 2.
That's good stuff. Hey, it's Carlos. How are you doing, Jeran?
Doing good.
Yeah. I just had one question. You believe that we can bounce radio frequencies off of the moon?
Well, I believe you can bounce them off of the ionosphere. So sure. I mean, if you aimed where the moon is, it's going to bounce like anything else. Yeah.
Jeran, of course.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Well, like I said, MIT says that they did it in 1962, and I don't have any proof that they did not. So I'm assuming that maybe they did shoot them off the moon in 1962. Now, of course, they go on and on about the fact that once retroreflectors were placed there, that now it's proof we went to the moon. But if we did it when there was no retroreflectors there, then how is it proof of anything? But again, Globers will onto that.
All right, Jeran, this is something we completely disagree with. Disagree on.
Yeah,
I don't believe
what I'm going at
anything
actually
off
with
the
the
moon
radio
ever.
waves. Hello?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what I'm going at with the radio waves is this. I understand about the laser, and I get your point. But what I'm saying is, if you would agree that it's possible to bounce off a radio signal off of the moon, and then if you agree that radio frequencies have a speed, then technically you would be able to calculate the distance, and ergo you'll be able to have the distance in between the Earth and the moon, and then be able to have a more accurate model of where the moon and the Earth is.
So you believe you can believe they can calculate the speed of light? Is that what I'm getting from this? Have you ever looked?
Do you believe that?
No.
You believe that light has a speed?
No, not that you can calculate on Earth. We're not in a vacuum. How are you calculating the speed of light on Earth?
What about radio? What about radio waves? Do radio waves have a speed?
I don't know. I don't know if that can be calculated. I haven't. Have you calculated it yourself?
Well, it can be. It can be. I have actually. There's Doppler. You can see the Doppler effect. And in fact, you can ask Bob more about this. But if you have an understanding that you can, the radio frequencies have a speed, and then you can, you can actually calculate the length of something when you bounce it off it, how long it takes for it to ping back, and with that, then you could actually have what the distance from the Earth to the Moon is.
Wait a second,
and
but
that
it's
would be a little more accurate.
But you're sending that through the atmosphere, right? So nothing slows it down. You're just saying that on Earth, the atmosphere doesn't slow any radio waves, any light waves at all?
Well, no, Jeran, on the Earth, you can ping things and triangulate where you are by measuring the time it comes and goes. But shooting it up into space, That's different. I just don't think that the moon is something that can reflect, at 186,000 or 238,000 miles away, that it will reflect anything back. I think that's nonsense.
If you go with the assumption that you said, if the moon and the sun are up high and there's no atmosphere, Jeran said it's likely that the sunlight can actually reach the moon, then you're admitting that if there's no atmosphere, that there's nothing impeding for something to reach that far. So that's contradicting that.
No, I'm not contradicting. I said it. I don't know if you can measure that. I don't know if you can get that speed. I mean, have you ever looked? Have you looked at the way that they came up with the speed of light? Go back and look at the people who did it. They did it in the late 1700s.
I'm aware. I mean,
they bounced light off mirrors 7 miles away. It's not even possible. It's not even possible today, and yet we're told that they were doing it. And every measurement since then comes close to the original measurement, but they never even get it right. Even college classes get together. They set up huge experiments, and they come nothing close to the accepted number, and their excuse for that is always, we didn't do something right in the test. But in 1785, they did it right. That's crazy. Look at today's equipment. And then you can believe in the globe model that you want, but, I mean, you have to remember that when they did the interferometer test, basically to figure out if the Earth was moving as it flew through space, when they didn't get any change in the speed of light going one way or the other, their excuse is now that the apparatus itself, the arm, shortens when it's going in the direction of the orbit of the sun, and therefore the arm shortens, and that's why we get the same speed. So these are just numbers that they're giving people. It's not real, in my opinion. But again, they certainly tried to be real. Let's go to the next caller. You're on area code 908. You're on with Jeranism Monday Night Raw. Who's this?
Hi, this is Richie from New Jersey. Can you hear me?
What's up, Richie?
What's up, Richie?
Oh, hey, that's crazy that I'm next. There is no speed of radio frequency, and radio frequency isn't even something that's moving. That's something that's already there. So, the signal you're sending is moving through a frequency that's already there. So to say that radio frequency is moving doesn't make any sense at all. It's like a string. If you pull one side of it, the other side, no matter how far away, will move with it.
How does the radar?
You can learn about that from Ken Wheeler, who wrote a great book on magnetism, and he claims that there's no speed of light either. Like it's just like that. But my question was, that guy that was blind, he would be great to speak about flat Earth to people that could see, man. But
amazing.
If that guy had a show or something,
right?
He could, if he had a show or I was on with you guys, he could actually enlighten people that could see, because they would listen to him. That's what I think. But my question was, do you think that the chemtrails could actually be what's making it possible to use cellular networks? Like,
I don't doubt that at all.
Like,
no.
and did you? Like, I'm actually an electrician, but I'm not like that kind of electrician. I'm just like a regular electrician. But I've been following you guys for years, and I watched all your videos, and I love you guys, man. You guys are awesome.
Appreciate that.
But that guy Ken Wheeler is he's not a flat earther, but he has a lot of good research that would probably be helpful for you guys that you should look into.
I've looked into some of his stuff.
A little bit of that sometimes.
Yeah.
Very smart guy.
It's pretty good stuff. But my question was like chemtrails. Do you think that maybe they've been doing something in the gravitational field, spraying? I don't know,
there's so much
components and stuff like that actually made cell phones possible, and maybe with the 5G networks coming out, something to do with that, or
it might have a lot to do with what's going on with the directed energy fires and all sorts of stuff. It's getting worse, and it's one thing we know for sure is we don't know the extent of what the chemtrails are all about.
It could have something to do with the cellular networks going like 3G, 4G, because if it wasn't possible back then, you know, like, yeah, we thought it was impossible, but then, you know, like, it seems like they correlate with the times that they started doing the chemtrails was probably around the same times as we started getting our cell phones, you know, so it could be related.
All right. Well, appreciate you all so much, and we just lost the 719 caller again for another time. But David, when it comes to, I don't know about you, but when it comes to chemtrails, the first time that I really started to understand what was going on, because people say, you know, do you remember this when you were a kid? No, I don't remember these planes leaving these kind of trails when I was a child. But what really caught my eye is when I started doing time lapses with my GoPro throughout the day. I would start it early in the morning. I was trying to get the sunrise, and in these videos, you would see these planes come and leave these trails, and then you would see over the next few hours them sweep across the entire sky and blanket it in clouds. You can see it right there in front of you.
Daily. So it happens daily.
Daily. Yeah, it's just interesting because I hear so many people say those are just contrails and they disappear. And I'm like, no, I'll show you time lapses that, you know, most of my time lapses were 3 or 4 hours. I was trying to get the sunrise, but I would see these planes. I would see this line of cloud, and then you would see it spread over the entire sky and become clouds.
I remember as a child specifically being interested in the contrails behind a high-flying jet. I would see one, you know, a tiny little speck in the sky, and then you would see this white line behind it that literally would go like 3 inches, you know, from my point of view. Maybe it was 100 yards from the plane's point of view, and then the end of it would just dissipate, and the short little blast out the back would just follow the plane along. It would never leave these things in the sky today. Today, I saw these planes out of nowhere just turn them on, big thick line, and then turn them off again. And so that is not a condensation trail unless the plane's engine was going on and off.
Right, and again, we don't know what's mixed into this fuel. We have no idea what's going on up there, and I don't even think the pilots know. It's not a matter of, the pilots know they're spraying the earth with chemicals and aluminum and barium.
Even pilots.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, we don't know. So I believe that's all the phone calls. There was a 719 number that kept trying to call, but doesn't look like they're going to call back in, which is good. Gives us a few minutes. David, tell everybody where they can get the app if they're interested in getting the app.
The Flat Earth Sun and Moon Clock app is in the Apple Store. It's in the Google Play Store. Sometimes, depending on what country you're in, it doesn't show up. If you go to any of my videos, my recent videos, DITRH YouTube channel, there's usually a link there, or just search the App Store for Flat Earth Sun, the and symbol, Moon Clock, and it should come up. It's also, you know, when you show people, I'm hearing lots of stories where people will be talking flat Earth, having a conversation, and you got someone that's interested, and then you break out the app and you go, look, this is how it works. Circumnavigation. You can show them seasons. You show them Antarctica. And then they're like, hey, where'd you get that app? You recommend that they get it and say, just get this app, look at it, you know, see how the sun moves. Wherever the sun is noon in that position. And then each day, watch the video. I'm very careful about the videos that I put up there. And if you watch those videos for just a couple of weeks, you're a flat earther.
Yeah, I totally agree. So check out that. And I have a story just like that, trying to talk to people in my family a few times about flat earth, and they kind of just hee-hawed it and left it alone. And when I finally had the app and was able to show them, all of a sudden they stared at it like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Right. If you can convince them, say, hey, just get the app and do yourself a favor. Every day when you get up in the morning, instead of turning on the TV, watch the video that's on the app. I change it every morning, Eastern USA, usually like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And just watch that, and you'll find it. You know, some of the videos are very short. As I said before, longer ones on the weekends. And if you watch that, there's no way that they'll not be a flat earther. So there you go. It's a great tool for that because it keeps on teaching every day.
Again, I totally agree. And if you want to support this channel, the best way to do that is either paypal.me/Jeran, or you can become a patron at patreon.com/Jeranism. Or if you want to help out without spending any money on me or sending me any money, but you do shop at Amazon, go to Jeranism.com first. In the little menu up top, there's a support button. When you click that, there's an Amazon button. And if you click that, it'll take you right over to Amazon. You do your shopping like you normally do. pay the same price you always do. Only the difference is I get a small percentage. So I believe that's it. My screen is just shut off, which is really weird, and says that the call board and other features will display 3 minutes. I don't know what this thing's talking about. So if we're still on the air, thank you guys for joining us. We do appreciate it. As always, tune in next week. We'll be back again with another Jeranism Monday Night Raw. David, any final words?
No, that's it. Everybody enjoy. Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you next week.
Until next time. Peace.
Censorship and regulation is becoming an ever-growing problem in today's modern media. From the mainstream to YouTube and Google, the information you're looking for is buried by official narratives and propaganda. This is why TFR is 100% uncensored, unregulated, and listener-supported. The shows on TFR are not micromanaged by the station, and our hosts are free to speak their minds however they please. As such, the views and opinions expressed on our station are of those who make them. If you happen to hear anything offensive on TFR, please send us an email to toughtitty@tfrlive.com, and we'll be happy to tell you that we really don't give a damn. We stand for freedom of speech and non-censorship. If you also stand for free speech, you can go to tfrlive.com/signup and sign up for a TFR supporter pass and help us in our mission to keep the airwaves uncensored and unregulated. TFR Live, your uncensored and unregulated protection from deception.
Lawmakers sanctioned. The closure continues. I'm Ann Cates. House Republicans have taken steps to punish Iowa Congressman Steve King for recent controversial remarks.
House Minority Leader Kevin says he and the House GOP Steering Committee have decided to remove Steve King from all of his committee assignments. The move comes after the Iowa Republican representative told the New York Times in an interview last week, quoting here, "White nationalist, white supremacist, Western civilization. How did that language become offensive?" King insisted his remarks were taken out of context. Removing King from his committee assignments gives him little power to wield influence as a member of Congress. Removing him from the Agriculture Committee in particular is especially bad since King represents a state with large agricultural interests. Linda Kenyon, Washington.
No end in sight for the federal government shutdown. Correspondent Caitlin Collins.
I will never, ever back down. I didn't need this fight.
President Trump is lashing out at Democrats over the longest government shutdown in U.S. history.
The government remains shut down for one reason and one reason only. The Democrats will not fund border security.
The president demanding they return to the negotiating table while sticking by his own demands and offering no new incentives.
A 21-year-old Wisconsin man has been formally charged today with kidnapping a teenage girl and murdering her parents last October. Barron County Judge James Babler said